this is this is going to be an interesting episode. Wanted to take in, get a few of my friends together and, take and talk about what's been going on. I know for me, it's been a really somber week. It's been a lot of emotions, um, with the police brutality, most recently George Floyd. I want to at least start off the episode in reading off, some of the names of uh, police brutality victims, as well as a few victims that have, uh, been murdered because of racism. Tamar Rice, Autumn John, Michael Brown, Stephen Clark, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner, Oscar Grant, most recently George Floyd, Martin Luther King Jr., Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery. So, forgive me if I get emotional too, because this is something very near and dear, especially being a Black man. Also, I come from Paul. I talked to you about this. Coming from a family, I guess you could say, of politicians. A grandfather who participated in local politics in Charlotte. I have an uncle who is currently the executive director of the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. Anybody that's in Atlanta and the surrounding area, be sure to familiarize yourself with them, as they do help to deal with police misconduct cases. Um, so, I'll say, this is the SANE Show, the show about nothing and everything. We normally talk about entertainment related things, but I reached out to Paul earlier in the week, figured we push back some recordings and that we address the issue at hand, with hopes to bring about awareness to social injustices, and not only bring about awareness, but also as a multicultural group of people today, talk about, some of the solutions and what we can do as a community to make this better. Today I have joining me Mallory Shaw, who's, some of you guys are familiar with. She's been on the show before. And then I have Paul Davis, and then I have his fiance, Lauren Thompson. So, I want to thank you guys first and foremost for taking and coming on the SANE Show on this, what I will call a special episode, to talk about this important topic. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling?
Man, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I mean, be honest. With everything that's transpired and, with everything that has happened, I mean, are you hopeful? Are you doubtful? Like, please tell me.
All of the above.
Yeah, everything at once.
I think, yeah, there's so much. Obviously, there's so many layers to this. Everyone has so many different perspectives and experiences. And I think personally, like, we're all experiencing such different emotions and hopelessness, some moments of hope. And the one thing I've been trying to ground myself in is continuing to keep the hope. Because the second I lose my hope, the second I give up, the second I lose my hope, the second we don't push forward, the second I give up, the second that I'm not using my white privilege to actually help the Black community. And so that's the one thing that I've been holding on to. And I have my moments, but that's what I've been trying to stay grounded in. So.
And one of the things I wanted to touch on is, like, I want to thank too my friends, my non-Black friends, who have been reaching out, who have been checking on me, and who have been vocal. Like, it really meant a lot. Still means a lot too. I'll be honest. I've had a lot of moments this week where, like, when people reached out to me, like, I kind of, like, my emotions get going and I might tear up, a quick tear jerker or whatever. But it's just like, it's just making you say, wow, like people really do care. Like there are people out there who actually want to be a part of the solution and help make a change. One of the things I've done a lot of this week, because there's a lot of things going on. Obviously, there's a lot of moving pieces. You have people that are protesting. You have people that are, on social media, bringing awareness to everything that's going on, sharing the tweets and reporting them to their employers, and then you got the people that are volunteering and pushing people to get out there and vote and getting them registered and things like that. And then you have me, people like that doing what I've been doing, which I think is one of the key things, is having a conversation, having those uncomfortable conversations, encouraging people to ask those questions and trying to understand the Black community. And one of the things I'll say too is that Monday was a tough, the week, over the weekend, that's when everything really started going. And you see all these people out here protesting, and but then when Monday came around and it was time for me to go to work, I'm working from home, I'm in a virtual meeting, and I'm video chatting with everybody like I'm doing with you guys. And like to sit there, there's my team, there's 5 of us, okay? 2 Black people, 3 white people. And my white colleagues were talking about how they were having how their weekends were pretty good, and just laughing and carry on. And my manager's like, he's asking me and the other Black person, how are you guys weekend? We're just like, it was all right. Another weekend, and he's like, well, see, there's not a lot of energy over there or whatever. So he calls me after and he's like, Cliff, what's going on? Like, is everything all right? And I said, honestly, not really. Like, with everything that's going on, it's not all right. Honestly, like, I just got a lot on my mind, and I just kind of explained to him what I was going through mentally. And then he's like, I apologize. I talking about my weekend, how I had a good weekend, and I didn't even think about, what was going on in the world. I know what's going on, but I'm not really thinking about what's going on. He's like, that's a bit insensitive of me. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that is. But when I explained a little bit more to him, and I could just see this look in his face, like he had this glare. Like he said he didn't understand the struggle, but it was like literally nothing. And I'm looking at him like, wow. There are white people that are just completely oblivious to the understanding of the Black struggle. Like, and it kind of shocked me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it said to me, okay, I got a better idea of where we're at. Because one of the things I've been telling people too is, white liberals, they support the cause, yes, but do they really understand? And I've been joking with some people saying like all they see is 400 years or a couple hundred years of slavery, emancipation, Martin Luther King, civil rights, and that's it. Everything else is sunshine and rainbows. And then stuff like this happens and everybody's scratching their head. And I said, that's because they don't understand. And so for me, it that's why it's important to have the conversation, to bridge that gap, to have that understanding. You look like you're ready to say something, Lauren.
Well, I mean, it's just, it's the difference between being able to turn off the news and having that just be my everyday. Mm-hmm. I can't, you can't ignore it when it's all you see. Mm-hmm. But, and that's something that you can't teach. Yeah. And I've been loving the stuff on social media where it's like, I will never understand, but I'm still stand with you.
Yeah.
And, at least it puts, a little bit of support.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but I would rather have that than somebody just look at me blindly and never even want to, you know, put that hand out there and help somebody out.
Yeah, really. Another thing, actually yesterday, our CEO called me, and it's a UK based company, so he's in the United Kingdom, and he hasn't been in none of the like global meetings or anything in 2 weeks. I mean, he calls me, hey, what's up? Like, we have a good relationship too. And he said, hey, I'm just calling to see how everything's going. And I tell him, I pretty much tell him the same thing I told my manager Monday. And we had a conversation about it. He had some questions. And the thing that it really stood out to me, because I didn't do anything to prompt him to call me. It wasn't, oh, I heard how things were going over there. I heard how you were in the Monday meeting. No, it was, I wanted to reach out, say hello, see how you were doing, and then immediately ask, what could we be doing as an organization to help? And at first I said, I don't really, because I don't want to I'm not trying to, I guess, tell you guys what to do. You know, but like, but he asked, what can we do? And I said, well, you can do like some of the other companies are doing, Flag Out Tuesday, donate this or do that. And he's like, well, we didn't want to do that because we felt that would have been disingenuous. Like, we actually want to do something. And I said, okay, I can respect that, because what happened after Blackout Tuesday, there was a lot of people that's like, okay, cool, you guys doing Blackout Tuesday, you say you support the Black community and your Black employees, creatives, whatever. Let me see your board. And I told him that, and he chuckles and he's like, yeah, right. Bunch of middle-aged white guys. Yeah, that's and so just having that conversation with him, it just like it did a lot for me, because he really wants to help. And he's like, back to my question, what can we do? I said, we need to have a conversation as a company. He said, okay, we'll do that. I said, because the only way for people to really understand is and if you really want to help us, because if you have that understanding, then it would make more sense when you do cast your vote, when you do give your money to certain organizations, when you do try to go back into your own community and try to talk to people about why Black Lives Matter is important. So just one of those little things. But again, like this week has really been eye-opening for me. Yeah. And like being able to have these conversations that I'm having, and I'm glad. I'm glad, like, my white friends are reaching out and they're asking these questions, because I've extended the invitation. Whatever question you may have, no matter how crazy it may seem, ask me, please. You don't sit in the back and be quiet and not try to understand a little bit of what's going on here, because that doesn't help any of us. You know, I'm not asking you to go out here and do all these other things. Like, no, just have the conversation. And if we can have a conversation, then we can at least, because that's at the end of the day, that's what's going to help bridge the gap.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a lot to unpack, I know, but I think too that people need to also look at, because I think a lot of us want things to happen rather quickly. Yeah. But being that we're trying to undo so many years of this, it's a step by step. It's a process. It is. But if we commit,
we just have to put in the work, honestly.
Yeah.
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 It's a foot in front of the other process. You know, it has to have sustained momentum. It can't be a flash in the pan. It doesn't happen all at once. And, you know, a friend of mine who's frustrated with the system, you know, was talking about not being necessarily for the 8 can't wait sort of thing, because it needs to do more. And I don't disagree that it needs to do more, but I think that he's looking at it from a sort of flash, everything has to happen right now or it doesn't happen at all. And you're right, we're talking about dismantling a system that extends so much further than just law enforcement. that to truly get back to the seed of the whole thing requires peeling back and and digging away at things. You know, when you need to get rid of an invasive weed, you can't just pluck it at what's at the surface. You got to dig it out and pull it out root and stem. So unfortunately, it's a long journey that we're looking at.
Yeah. Because the question I've been, what my uncle asked, he's like, what's going to happen after we're done protesting?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, as far as, because the thing he was saying is, he's of the older of an older generation.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not the 60s. I don't think your generation is as committed to that as, I guess it would be his parents' generation. Like, they stayed out there in this marching. But I think too, we have to utilize everything at our disposal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we don't give, because I get it. With social media, it's easy to sit behind a computer screen on your phone, send out tweets, share news articles and all that kind of stuff. But I think what we sometimes miss is the power in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about how Trump uses social media,
Mm-hmm.
though he holds the highest office, he's able to rally people up.
Yeah.
In that it's mainly with Twitter. You know, all the news outlets are on Twitter. Some of the news that like the trending news that then becomes national news and headline news, it starts out on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, cool. So it's like, if people are using social media to promote themselves and do this, that, the other, and obviously, you know, look for news, social media is a great tool to raise awareness and to call people out. I'm like, let's use this tool to our advantage. I mean, we see it all the time when we talk about like canceling artists or actors or whatever. Like we've been seeing it this week. Like people have been saying like all kinds of either racist or insensitive remarks about what's happening right now. And what do you see? They're trending all over social
We're getting
media.
called out.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot that we can do. I just think that we have to commit to seeing it through.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes in with all of us playing our own parts in this battle, in this journey. Is, you know, we use each other's strengths to and, you know, work together as a team to build this up. And so that means that we're going to need, you know, everybody. You know, we can't do this on our own.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me in this is, once you know better, do better. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that, maybe a lot of white people that said, oh, I didn't realize racism was still an issue, because they're so unaware and it doesn't affect them. That's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but now that you know better, do better. Put your money where your mouth is. Support Black-owned businesses. Who are you voting for? Are you actively supporting not only not being racist, but doing your part to actively change the culture? Because yes, it is systemic and it is so rigged for the Black community not to succeed. It is truly so systemic, based on where your houses are, based on the wealth gap. There are so many things stacked against African Americans. And I think now is the time more than ever. Now that we know better, we have to do better.
Yeah. And it all starts, honestly, with education. We have to educate people, because ignorance is blinding, and it is fueling hatred and bigotry in our nation. And it is sad.
And it's all learned. You're absolutely right. It's all learned. You're not born a racist or with these horrible thoughts. And so anything that's learned can be unlearned. You're absolutely right. We have to educate ourselves and listen and ask questions and be open to being open to learning in public and being okay with not knowing the answer. Yeah.
You made me think about something when you said it's learned. And I'm sure we've all may have thought about this at some point in time as adults. You think about you ever think about when you were growing up and you never thought about he's black, he's white, he's Mexican, he's Asian. Like we didn't look at any of that. But as we gotten older, we get more exposed to the workings of our society and we become more aware of what's going on. All of a sudden we start placing labels, and then we start having to watch how we move and what we do, and seeing
and some more than others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are on the spectrum, yeah, you might have to work a little bit harder than the person next to you, because that's how the system is, and that's why we need to change it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As far as Mal and Paul, what, obviously, again, you guys are white, and it's a different experience.
Yeah.
But what's the feeling for you guys when you look at your own community? And not to say, and I'm not looking for you guys to be like, oh man, I'm disappointed or whatever. like I'm not looking for anything outlandish, but just really like honest feelings. Like, well, what do you see?
I see, sort of good and bad. I teach in a rural community that is majority white, second highest population is Hispanic. I think the town or the county that I actually teach in, I think is 8% black. And you see that represented in the student body, but also in the staff at the school. And I remember there was a student who I was talking with, a 10th grade teacher, Rebecca Bold's a black woman, and she said that he would get into arguments with her all the time about police brutality. And about racism in the system and the systemic nature of it. And I found that to be, sort of disheartening. And there was a lot that I saw in my community that I found to be disheartening. On the flip side, I'm seeing things that make me hopeful. Men like my father who, grew up conservative in the South, who was never, necessarily openly wicked, but also necessarily wasn't politically active either, is upset and growing more upset by the day. And friends of his and clients of his that, were openly for Trump are now talking with him, and they're openly against Trump, and they're all having conversations with each other about things that they've never talked about before. And so I guess I see a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, but I guess I do find the good that I'm seeing more hopeful in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, physically with where I'm living right now, I live in Charleston, South Carolina, specifically in Mount Pleasant, which is a very Caucasian community. There is very, very, very low diversity here. And that's something, I've been here for a little over a year, and it's something that is really, it's eye-opening. And it is being someone as myself who's grown up around, I've been very fortunate to where I grew up in Southern California with a lot of Hispanics and Mexicans. And I grew up it was always, racism was never something that was taught to me. I've always known that we were all equal in my eyes. I've always known that the color of your skin didn't matter. I care about who you are. And if you're cool, can we hang together? Are you fun? That sort of thing. And so I've always known my heart and I've always known my actions, but seeing now this week, everything erupt. And it's one thing to be surrounded by white people as a white person. I'm also in an interracial relationship. So my boyfriend's black, lives here as well. And it's one thing to live our day to day and, get the stares in Target or, get the eyes walking down the street because he's black and I'm white. But to see, the riots and the protests going on downtown and then 10, 15 minutes from there to see the white people here in Mount Pleasant acting like life is completely normal, and they're so unaware of what's even going on literally right here in our own city, it's been really challenging. And it's been so, eye-opening, and I'm trying to learn the best way to make it, like, how to have those conversations and make people aware when you're just in a quick, I might not sit down and have a 15-minute conversation with you, but I might get 3 minutes of your time as a white person. And I can tell that you're in here and you're so unaware of what's going on, but what can I do in this moment to kind of at least help and to kind of break some of that ignorance and that wall? Because it's appalling, you know? And so as I've been trying to educate myself more, and as I've been trying to learn more and really learn what I can do, it's been had crazy conversations, had uncomfortable conversations. I've had beautiful conversations with people of all skin tones and different walks of life. And so I think I'm really looking at this as this Black Lives Matter movement that has been going on forever isn't a movement, and it's a lifestyle. It is something that I think it is something that we need to embrace, especially as a white community. Obviously, the Black community embraces that wholeheartedly, but as a white person, I'm like, this isn't just a movement or something that I can have, like you said, as a quick, fly by night thing. This is a lifestyle for me. Knowing that one day I might have little interracial babies walking around here that are going to be walking down the street that are going to be considered Black babies, and I want fairness for them, just like I want fairness for other Black babies and men and women that deserve that just because they are humans. They deserve that anyway. So it's been interesting. It's been eye-opening, but we'll get there.
Yeah. I believe we will. Again, the support is what's really done my heart joy, because for the most part, I've had moments where I've been sad and most moments where I've been angry, but most of my moments where I've had joy were when the people, non-Black people, came to my side, and like knowing that you guys have our back, from various people within the Hispanic community, the LGBTQ community, and I'm hearing about the Amish, and the one that really blew my mind was like witches. I'm like, witches? Like what? So are we casting out spells
All right.
now? But it's just like, it's just like, it's just that, like, when you get there, it's like, yeah, like, it's not, and it gives you hope. It gives you hope. And I had a conversation with one individual. She was having trouble understanding why are cops still being given a hard time. The good cops, the ones that are out here kneeling and marching and hugging and helping protect the protesters and doing their best to keep it peaceful. And I told her, I said, well, I appreciate the good cops. I know cops. I have cops in my family. So, like, I appreciate what they do. I still love them. They do serve a purpose. We still need them. But it's like, at where things are right now, the tensions are high. And a lot of the conversation has shifted really, like, okay, let's not be fooled by them, because they might just be trying to suppress us by being nice. And then 5-10 years from now, we go through the same thing again. And so I said, if they're really that good, because there's I guess 2 points I have to make. Good cops hold bad cops accountable. That's one. And then 2, if they're as good as they say they are, and they want to prove to us that they care, like, then keep doing what you're doing. Like, suit up every day, go out there, continue protecting the people, continue protecting the protesters, and doing all those things that you like. Don't, because I was sitting in on a live last night, and actually a Greensboro police officer got on there, and obviously the conversation was this conversation, and she was talking about how, like, they're frustrated. they're just as frustrated as we are, if not more, because it makes them look bad. But she said that's not going to stop me from going out there and protecting my community and still going and, visiting the kids. I go and visit, playing basketball with the people. Like I've been doing that. I'm still going to do that. And I'm like, you know what? That's what we need. That's the attitude. Because like if you want people to trust you, like don't just do it during hard times. Do it when times are good as well.
Yeah.
Because I like to make the I made an analogy. I said it's like when your girlfriend is mad at you or something, and you don't stop loving her. You still do what you got to do, but like eventually she'll come around and forgive you. But
We
I'm just
always
saying,
do.
at least I like to believe. And but I said it's almost like that with police officers. Like just keep doing that. We'll come. We have to see it. Like, okay, did you really change? Are you really trying to do better? Like, don't just do it because things are bad right now. Keep doing it, and hopefully we come back around. But right now, where things are, like tensions are so high, I literally told her, I said I don't trust any of them at the moment, and I said I don't even feel bad for what's happening to a lot of them. And I said, I feel bad for even having to say that. But, I've been so forgiving and, giving them the benefit of the doubt time and time again that at this point, it's literally, it feels like we are at war. And that is us against everybody else. And, me and my cousin were talking about this earlier, how like he's like, uh, he's a musician. So he's talking about how wars have rhythms. And he's like, right now, the rhythm right now is like, it's just very aggressive, right? People are radical. People are really on the offensive. Tensions are high. People are angry. And like, I get it. I know people want peace. But I said, I'm like, right now, we got to get everybody riled up and give everybody something to fight for. Those of us that are fighting for something good, we gotta give them a reason. Because I said there's a lot of people, as we're seeing and as we talked about, there's a lot of people that we see that are just now realizing what's going on, and those are the people that we need to really like stay in their face and keep raising awareness about what's going on. And yes, people are going to get angry when they see this, but that's what it's going to take. Like, you want to see how bad this thing is? When you get upset, that's when I know you're committed to the cause and that you're going to do what needs to be done to help influence positive change and help secure social justice for Black people. And as I like to say too, when we secure our rights, we also secure the rights for everybody else.
Exactly.
It's not just us. It just so happens to be that we're the second largest group in the country. We've been fighting this fight for the longest. We got the most clout right now. So we lead the charge, but in securing our rights, we secure the rights for everybody else too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's exactly the point, honestly. Yeah. We'll carry the rest of everybody, on our backs, but we're the front.
Yeah, and I think I've had sidebar conversations with select individuals, especially like the Hispanic community, and talking to them about like, hey, look, I know you're helping us, but we got you. We help. I'm helping you too. We may not be talking about it on the main line or in the mainstream of all the topics, but I do know that we're looking out for you guys too. At least we should.
It's because it's like a game of dominoes. Like, you line up all your pieces and then you hit the one and it hits another person and it hits another and it hits another. And soon we've got everybody together, and then we can actually make change because, we've already started the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So we can we can move with that momentum for other things, for other injustices in our communities and in our world right now. But first, we had to push that first domino.
Yeah. So, and I mean, really, yeah, like you said, it's a domino effect. Because, when I think about it, especially like the LGBTQ community, these politicians, they make up BS reasons as to why certain people shouldn't be given certain rights. And a
Okay.
lot of times
Okay.
it's a lot of times their reasoning is based on economics, right?
Yeah.
It's all about money. And I come to learn, like, look, having active members in the economy isn't going to hurt us. Like, we need everybody to be participants. We
Mhm.
need everybody to have the same access to whatever. We need everybody to be able to, because not only is it a thing across when we talk about racial, but also gender bias.
Mhm.
So we have that going on as well. Like, there's a lot of things going on that we can literally solve, like, by making things equal, and not to, not trying to get too far off, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to: equality for all. Not
Yeah.
just Black people, Hispanics. My friend was talking to me yesterday. He's Indian, and he was talking to me uh, about he grew up he was adolescent years in New York, and he
Mhm.
was talking to me about 9/11 and how things were for them after that.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, I felt a sense of like Black privilege, as
Mm.
crazy as it may sound, because like he's telling me, and I'm kind of like, wow, that's crazy. Like, talking about his uncles, getting like taken out of their stores and getting interrogated, and him and his family being referred to as terrorists, like that kind of stuff. I'm like, wow,
Mm.
I didn't know. I'm so glad he told me though, because it's like that needs to be addressed too. Like, that's not anything that should be tolerated either. They're American citizens. They're hardworking people, you know?
Mhm.
And so it's like, because of 9/11, why is it that they should be treated as such? Kind of, you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
but for me, it's just like, I'll admit, I was a bit ignorant to what their experience is. And I'm so glad he shared it with me, because all I know is that, their family is pretty well to do, and a lot of successful people in his family as well. That's all I know, but I don't know their struggle, you
Mhm.
know? And it's like, but now that I know a little bit about that, it's like, okay, wow, like it changes things for me, because it's the thing I always like to tell people too, like, you don't know what anybody's going through.
Exactly.
Like, everybody has their own challenges. You just don't know. So it's not
Mhm.
fair for you to judge them unless you know their story. And so every ethnic group in this country has a story that one needs to be told, and like, so that we all as a nation can understand one another and really be the America that.
We want it to be,
Right.
both promised to us, we're supposed to be the land of the free. Why are we so messed up? We're so far off the mark, guys. It's horrible. But honestly, yeah, it's about having conversations like this, with people who are in different backgrounds than you, different religious status than you, different sexuality. It's about having these conversations so that way we as a people can be more educated and more accepting and more tolerant,
Yeah.
just all
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a heart issue, and that's why there's injustice for any type of difference, whether that's the LGBT community, whether that's a race specifically. It's if you just value a human being for their heart and for their soul and for who they are, and man, if they happen to be a bad person and they really have horrible character, then okay. Then it doesn't matter what color they are. Then you don't have to include them in your life. But if you just really value a person for what they are, then it doesn't matter their gender or what they choose to identify as or what they are interested in, or it's who they are as a person, and what you guys can connect on and just chit chat about and learn from each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, one of the things you learn in sitting down and talking to people is that you find out you're more common than
Exactly.
Then you would assume. Yeah.
Like we're again the human experience. Like there's various similarities, and you know that's what I love about just meeting people. Because when you meet people, you get to talk to them, you get to learn their story, and you're like, man, I like this guy, or I like this, I like this lady. Like I can relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when you relate, when you're able to connect with somebody on that level, you see past everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you just see what you guys have in common. And
Yeah.
I guess that's why because now that I'm thinking about it as we're talking about it, and I'm thinking about all of my friends that have been my non-black friends that have been supportive. That's probably why I've been emotional, because I'm not thinking, oh, he's white and he's checking on me. That's a small part of it. It's the connection that we have,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
knowing like I know that this person cares. Like our connection is so strong that they care about me just as much as I care about them, and they're checking, because for them to check on me and ask me how I'm doing and things like that, I'm like, wow, like it's honest, it's beautiful. It really is. And those are the things that give me hope through all of this, because it's just like, wow, like, man, nothing like good people. It's nothing like good
Right.
people at the end of the day. Like good people is where, like, I always like to say, keep yourself in good company. And
Mm.
like you guys are good company. Mal, you're good company. Paul, you're good company. Lauren, you're good company. And yeah, and it started off, I wasn't in really as good of a mood, but when you as we've been talking and just talking to you guys, having this conversation, like I'm feeling better. I guess I'm in a better mood, and like to be able to talk to some like-minded people that understand too what needs to happen in order to bring about change. Because I'll tell you too, like it's been mentally exhausting for me.
Yeah.
Having these conversations over and over and over again, as far as like having to explain to people, it's worth it. It is, but it gets exhausting, because on top of that, I'm thinking about how else can I help? What else do I need to be doing? And how can I utilize the SANE Show platform itself to be a voice? Because one thing I said too is that if you are a content creator, especially a black content creator, and I'm taking this from Daquan Wilshore. He's a IG content creator, does YouTube videos and stuff. But he was saying, like, you don't have to be a voice in the community, or I mean for our community or within the community. But he's like, you have an audience and they're listening. They're looking to see what you're going to say in times like this. It's like you have the choice to speak up or say something, but what you decide to do is going to reflect on, or it's going to reflect on who you are as a person, and it's probably going to affect you when your audience looks at you and see where you stand during these critical times. And not that I'm so much worried about what my listeners are thinking, but I felt it was important that I do take a stand, because I'm
Mhm.
sitting here and I've been telling other content creators, like, hey, this is your time. Use your voice. You got that raw, that like you're just raw when you approach it. But then I had to take a step back and look at myself and say, well, I got some things I need to say too.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Mhm.
Listeners in 60 different countries. The world is watching us. The world is backing us right now. Why not talk to them and let them know what's going on here, and let them know not only how we can solve the problem here in the US, but around the world as well.
Yeah.
So in doing that, so like and that's why it was important for me to get everybody together on this today, to have this conversation, so that the world can know where not only SANE Show but SANE Media LLC, where we stand on this, and what we're going to do to help influence positive change, because it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Um, so yeah, but it's a lot.
It
It's
is.
I feel it feels like, one of those like one of those brainstorming sessions where you got this big goal, and you're like, okay, how do we tackle this thing? And it's like you want to take leap, or you want to take leaps, right? But you gotta start somewhere, and
Mhm.
it's just a day by day. And I was talking to my cousin JL earlier. Shout out to him, and he was talking about how he's been spending, a lot of his roommates are white too, and he's like, he he's like, you gotta do like one thing every day, one task or activity every day to contribute to the cause and help move things in a positive direction. And I want to shout out everybody too. That's all the non-black people that's been coming with the same energy, and if not more, like, that's been making me want to like get up and like, yo, keep applying that pressure, because that's every morning. That's what I've been saying. Like, keep applying that pressure. Keep applying that pressure. We have to keep our foot on the gas. And somebody like commented on my Instagram picture, one of the pictures I put up, and he's like, "Yo, we got to keep going, man. We got to keep going." Like, one of my white friends from high school, he's like, "We got to keep going." And I was like, "Yo, I like that energy." And he's like, "Yeah." It's like it's too old. It's like we should have been past this. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we need from everybody. And so when I get that,
Generational
because
fight,
honestly, say that again.
Oh, I said it shouldn't be like a generational fight. We shouldn't keep having this fight over and over again.
Yeah.
We gotta
Yeah.
we gotta just be done finally. Like, let's finally just make it to the end and be on the other side where everybody can be happy.
Mhm.
I'll tell you too, what really made me sad. I called my mom um earlier in the week, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How do you feel about all of this that's going on? She's like, I'm over 50 years old, and I've seen this time and time again. She's like, I'm doing what I can, but you know, and I'm just like, wow. Like, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, they're tired.
Yeah.
And that's the most disheartening part about it. They're tired. They've seen this before. They've seen this way too many times. It's like my uncle said. He's like, we had Rodney King. Before that, we had Emmett Till. We had Rodney King. Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner. Now we got George Floyd. It's like, what are we gonna do different? And he's like, we have, we have to organize. Um, Another thing too, and I'm not saying this to take a shot at anybody, but you know, every everybody, every black person, in my opinion, needs to speak up. I'm not saying to be on the offensive like I am and other people are, because I'm going after super aggressive, but at least make your voice heard in the conversation. Um, Especially because when we have people that are, or when we have non-black people that are contributing and helping, and it's like, yo, if they can speak up, you can definitely speak up. Now, I will say there are minor exceptions, because I do understand that, again, this is a lot on people mentally, our people mentally, in that some people need to take a mental break. Some people need to do some self-care. Some people have other things going on that they need to dedicate all of their attention to, that they may not be able to contribute anything. That's totally understandable. It's totally understandable. But I'm just speaking to those who know that they can speak up. Not, again, not 24/7 like me, but just say something. Just get it, because I feel like this is the time too. Like this is, like I told my CEO, I said it started in one city, spread to 50 states, and then 18 countries.
Yeah.
That's just a lot.
Yeah.
And then we have all these people having our back right now. We got to take advantage of this because this is a once in a lifetime movement. It looks like to me. They arrested the 4 cops already, and people are still protesting, and that's what we need. Because it doesn't stop at. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not the end of the fight.
Right.
We didn't come all this way to be like, all right, they arrested some cops. Let's sit down now. We're done.
Yeah.
Honestly,
like, no, we got to go after everybody. And because I even posted a picture of our find out who your local your elected officials are. You need to go after them. You need to go your senators, your mayor, your police chief, the sheriff, everybody. If people are talking about boycotting, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
But whatever we decide to do, let's stick to it.
I think that I think the reason partially that you're seeing that the protests are carrying on even past just George Floyd is because with the protest, we're continuing to see the same system that led to so many deaths continue to brutalize people, and we're seeing countless peaceful protesters, the boy in Austin who got hit with a rubber bullet, the 70-year-old man this morning who got shoved down. We're seeing countless images being shared also so thoroughly on social media of peaceful protesters being brutalized by cops. And so it's fueling its own fire, sort of, as I think it's going, where it started out with just this one thing, it's spread further, and then with that, more injustices were seen, more injustices came to light, and so now it's sort of fueling itself off of its own momentum.
And it's adding more people to the fight. We were, with your dad earlier today, he was outraged by the fact that this poor, elderly white man got shoved down, wasn't doing anything wrong, just happened, was there. And he was outraged by that. He's like, the system has been in place to protect us, and who are you protecting? And, it's awful as it sounds, with every injustice that is being put against us, it's as a nation, not just as Black people, is fueling somebody else's fire, is adding another flame to the cause. And eventually we will all stand as one because, we can't go back. It's just it's impossible now. We can't go back and make America, what it was. And it's done.
Make America great again, right? Okay.
They're over. Actually, we're living them right now.
Right. Another thing too. Shout out to all the celebrities that have been speaking up, and even I don't know who's genuine and who's not genuine as far as the companies, but because there's been a challenge for people as well as far as. Are you afraid to speak up because you're afraid to lose money? Are you afraid to lose followers? I've lost followers this week.
But also, do you really want those people following you?
No.
They're not willing to open their eyes and to be ready for change. Do I really want you on my side then?
Yeah. And when I had to ask myself that, is this worth losing followers? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I said, I tweeted about it. I said a bunch of nobodies, and then I'm not even going to lie. I said, I know I'm going to lose more. And then I used a middle finger emoji and was like, hey, it is what it is, So, but in that too, because it's like someone else tweeted out, hey, you're going to lose some, but you're going to gain something even better.
Yeah.
And not to toot my own horn, but I've had a lot of influencers following me since that. And I was like, oh, this is even better right here. I got the right people looking at me now, So it's I want to be careful when I say this, but it's a revolution. If we truly make it a revolution, and if we continue to keep our foot on the gas pedal, continue to hold everybody accountable, continue to uplift everybody, and for people like myself, the content creators, being a voice for the voiceless. And everybody that's listening, I encourage you to go out there and continue doing what you do if you're already doing something. And if you're not doing anything, I'm not going to come down on you, but I would at least encourage you to ask what it is that you can do. And even if it's as simple as having a conversation. And if you don't know how to have the conversation, in which I've had to talk to some people about having to have the conversation, ask somebody. Don't be afraid to speak up, because now's the time. And if you are one of the people that are helping people and having a conversation with people and educating them, just be careful not to alienate anybody, because the last thing you want is for somebody to come to you with a question and then you look at them like they're crazy because they don't know or they don't understand, and then they're put off altogether and not going to want to speak up ever again, because that one time they did, they they were shut down or whatever, or, they were put in the bad, they somebody made them feel bad. So dude, please be cognizant when you're talking to people about this stuff. So yeah, having conversations. If you want to make financial contributions, please do. If you want to volunteer, please do. Encourage people to vote. Please exercise your right. And if you're out there marching, please stay safe, and continue being peaceful if you can. And if you want to get involved with some organizations, I even wrote some down. You have the NAACP, the American Civil Liberties Union, Race Forward, Color of Change, Dream Defenders, Equal Justice Initiative, and Center for Social Inclusion. You got the National Urban League as well, one I didn't write down, but that's another popular organization. So there's a lot of groups that you can get involved with to help make a change, because we don't give them enough recognition, I think, and now's the time. They can always use your support. Also reach out to your local representatives, state or local, state, and federal. Reach out to everybody, make your voices heard, get in their face, let them know you're here. I don't care if they're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, whatever. Stay in their face, apply the pressure, because at the end of the day, they represent you, whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you guys for taking time out of your schedule to come on the SANE Show to have this conversation. It really means a lot to me, especially because with it being, I try to plan my shows well in advance, but this was one I had to stop everything, and it was on my spirit to have this conversation, and put this out ASAP. And so I thank you guys for again taking time to come on and be a part of this conversation, and also being a part of the change, helping do what you can to influence the positive change that we need to see and be. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you having the conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys be sure, check us out. You can, if you want to stay on top of what's going on with the SANE Show, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. That's SANE_show. That's SANE_show. Then you can find us on Facebook, the SANE Show. I guess I got it in me a little bit to close it out like I always do, because you're listening to the SANE Show, the show about nothing and everything. And until next time, we're out.